Hey guys, welcome back to Walk and Study. Today, we are going to go over some more hyper-advanced English vocabulary. This vocabulary is perfect for anyone studying for the GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, and any other exam that requires knowledge of advanced English vocabulary. Today, we'll be walking at sunset right after a fresh snowfall. Alright, let's get started. Our first word is inimical. Inimical is an adjective and it means hostile or unfriendly. Putting inimical into a sentence, we could say, even though the ceasefire had been in place for months, the two sides were still inimical to each other. So even though a ceasefire had been declared and had been in place for many months, the two fighting sides were still hostile and unfriendly towards one another. Another example might be, even after the elections, the two political parties were still inimical to one another. So even though the election had happened, the two political parties were still hostile and unfriendly towards one another. Our next word is apathy. Apathy is a noun, and it means a lack of interest or emotion. Putting apathy into a sentence, we could say, the apathy of voters is so great that less than half the people who are eligible to vote actually bother to do so. So the lack of interest or emotion on the part of voters is so great that less than half of them even go out to vote. We could also say, due to the apathy of her classmates, Jessica had to spend 12 hours working on the project all by herself. So due to the lack of interest or emotion displayed by her team members or classmates, Jessica had to do the majority of the work on the project. Our next word is lucid. Lucid is an adjective, and it means clear and easily understood. Putting lucid into a sentence, we could say, the explanations were written in a simple and lucid manner so that students were able to apply what they learned. So, the explanations were written in a simple and clear and easily understood manner so that the students were able to apply everything in the lessons easily. We could also say, when Sarah speaks, she is always very lucid. So, when Sarah speaks, she is always clear and easily understood. Our next word is aesthetic. Aesthetic is an adjective, and it means concerning the appreciation of beauty, or artistic, or tasteful. Putting aesthetic into a sentence, we could say, the sculpture gives me great aesthetic pleasure. So the sculpture gives me great pleasure that's related to beauty, or the appreciation of beauty. Our next word is jargon. Jargon is a noun, and it means either nonsensical talk, so talk that doesn't make any sense, or a sort of specialized language, a language that's used in a specific instance or for a specific purpose. Putting jargon into a sentence, we could say, you need to master technical jargon in order to communicate successfully with engineers. So to talk with engineers successfully, you need to understand the technical language or jargon that they use. So in this instance, jargon doesn't mean nonsensical talk or talk that doesn't make sense. It means the specialized language that engineers communicate with. We could also say, Reading academic articles requires an understanding of academic jargon. So in order to read an academic article and to understand what is being said, you have to first understand the specialized language that many academics use to discuss their fields. Our next word is eulogy. Eulogy is a noun, and it means a speech in praise of someone. Putting eulogy into a sentence, we could say, his best friend gave the eulogy, outlining his many achievements and talents. So his best friend gave a speech that outlined the person's many achievements and talents. Eulogy is often used in the context of death or a funeral. So when someone dies, when we talk about them in remembrance, when we talk about the life that the person lived, we often refer to that as a eulogy because we're talking about or we're praising all of the things that that person did while they were alive. Our next word is enumerate. Enumerate is a verb, and it means to count or to list. Using enumerate in a sentence, we could say, before making his decision, Alan asked the waiter to enumerate the different varieties of ice cream that the restaurant carried. So before making his decision on which ice cream he wanted, Alan asked the waiter to list all of the different varieties of ice cream that the restaurant had. We could also say, the newspaper article enumerated the many mistakes that the politician had made. So the newspaper article listed or counted the many mistakes that they believed the politician had made. Our next word is abate. Abate is a verb, and it means to reduce in amount, degree, or severity. Putting abate into a sentence, we could say, as the hurricane's force abated, the winds dropped and the sea became calm. So as the hurricane's force reduced in amount or degree or severity, the winds dropped and the sea became calm. We could also say, after the doctor gave me the medicine, my pain abated. So after the doctor gave me my medicine, the pain was reduced. Our next word is imperturbable. So imperturbable is an adjective, and it means not capable of being disturbed. So someone who is very composed or stoic, serene even, is someone who is imperturbable. Putting imperturbable into a sentence, we could say, the teacher had so much experience dealing with distraught children that she was imperturbable, even when faced with the wildest tantrums. We could also say, the astronauts of Apollo 13 were imperturbable when their spacecraft malfunctioned. So the astronauts of Apollo 13 were composed or dispassionate when their spacecraft didn't work as it was supposed to work. Our next word is lavish. Lavish is an adjective, and it means extremely generous or extravagant, someone who gives without sparing any cost. Putting lavish into a sentence, we could say, she was so lavish with her puppy that it soon became overweight and very spoiled. So she was so generous in her giving to her puppy that it soon expected all of the things that she provided and gained a bit of weight as well. Our next word is gestation. Gestation is a noun, and it means the growth process from conception to birth. Using gestation in a sentence, we could say, the longer the gestation period of an organism, the more developed the baby is at birth. So the longer the period of growth in between the point of conception and the point of birth, the more developed the baby is when it finally enters the world. We could also say, the gestation period for elephants is almost 2 years. So the period that a mother elephant is pregnant is almost 2 years. So you can think of gestation as the length of pregnancy or the period of pregnancy. Our next word is arbitrate. Arbitrate is a verb, and it means to judge a dispute or a disagreement between two opposing parties. Putting arbitrate into a sentence, we can say, since the couple could not come to an agreement, a judge was forced to arbitrate their divorce proceedings. So because the couple couldn't agree to terms on their own, a judge came in to judge the divorce proceedings. We could also say, when the two grandchildren couldn't share the toy, the grandfather stepped in to arbitrate. So when the two grandchildren couldn't decide who was going to play with the toy, the grandfather stepped in to judge who would get a turn. Our next word is candid. Candid is an adjective, and it means impartial or honest in speech. Someone who is kind of straightforward and frank. Putting candid into a sentence, we could say, the observations of a child can be charming since they are candid and unpretentious. So the observations of a child can be charming because they are impartial and honest in speech. I'm sure many of you who have interacted with children can vouch for that. Children have a way of saying whatever is on their mind whenever they want. We could also say, the newspaper article painted a candid portrait of the local mayor. So the newspaper article painted an impartial and honest portrait or image of the local mayor. Our next word is impervious. Impervious is an adjective, and it means impossible to penetrate or incapable of being affected. Using impervious in a sentence, we could say, a good raincoat will be impervious to moisture. So a good raincoat will make it impossible for water to get in and get you wet. We could also say, I am impervious to your lies. So I am incapable of being affected by your lies. Your lies have no impact on me. Our next word is edify. Edify is a verb, and it means to instruct or to teach morally or spiritually, and it can also mean just to teach or to instruct. Using edify in a sentence, we could say, the guru was paid to edify the actress in the ways of Buddhism. So the guru was paid to instruct or to teach the actress in the ways of Buddhism. We could also say, a teacher's job is to edify her students. So a teacher's job is to teach or guide her students. Our next word is bolster. Bolster is a verb, and it means to support or to prop up. Using bolster in a sentence, we could say, the presence of giant footprints bolstered the argument that Bigfoot was in the area. So the presence of giant footprints supported the idea or the argument that Bigfoot lived somewhere in the area. We could also say, winning the game last weekend bolstered the team's confidence. So winning the game last weekend supported or enhanced the team's confidence. Our next word is ersatz. Ersatz is an adjective, and it means fake. Putting Ersatz into a sentence, we could say, while traveling abroad, I bought a number of Ersatz bags. So while traveling abroad, I bought a number of bags that were fake. We could also say, I bought an Ersatz Rolex when I was visiting Times Square. So I bought a fake Rolex when I was visiting Times Square in New York. Our next word is circumspect. Circumspect is an adjective, and it means cautious, or someone who is aware of potential consequences. Using circumspect in a sentence, we could say, she was very circumspect in her language and behavior when first introduced to her fiancé's parents. So she was originally kind of cautious or aware of the potential consequences when she was meeting people who were important to her fiancé, his parents. We could also say, diplomats' behavior is typically very circumspect. So a diplomat's behavior is typically very cautious, very aware of potential consequences. Our next word is alacrity. Alacrity is a noun, and it means speed or quickness. Using alacrity in a sentence, we could say, the students at the front of the class always raised their hands with alacrity when the teacher asked a question. So the students sitting in the front of the class always raised their hands with speed or quickness when the teacher asked a question. We could also say, when you call the police, you expect them to respond with alacrity. So when you call the police, you expect them to respond with speed. Our next word is lugubrious. Lugubrious is an adjective, and it means sorrowful or mournful, something that's kind of dismal. Using lugubrious in a sentence, we could say, most people are very accustomed to lugubrious funerals. So most people are very used to sorrowful or mournful funerals. We could also say, the man's drooping eyes and deep frown gave him a very lugubrious look. So the man's drooping eyes and frown gave him a very sorrowful or sad look. Our next word is fortuitous. Fortuitous is an adjective, and it means happening by chance or fortunate. Using fortuitous in a sentence, we can say, it was fortuitous that he won the lottery just before he had to pay back his loans. So it was lucky or fortunate that he won the lotto right before he had to pay back a bunch of money. We could also say, if not for the fortuitous rains, the farmer and his family might have starved. So if not for the fortunate or lucky rains, the farmer and his family might have starved. Our next word is eclectic. Eclectic is an adjective, and it means something that's made up from a variety of sources. Putting eclectic into a sentence, we could say, Budapest's architecture is an eclectic mix of Eastern and Western styles. So the architecture in Budapest is a mix that selects from a variety of sources, both Eastern and Western. We could also say, I have a very eclectic taste in music. So, I have a taste in music that draws from many different sources or that has a variety of different styles and genres. Our next word is boor. Boor is a noun, and it means a crude person or someone who is lacking in manners or taste. Putting boor into a sentence, we could say, My uncle is a total bore. He was laughing during the entire concert. So my uncle is a person who doesn't have manners, and the way that we can tell he doesn't have manners is because he was laughing through the entire concert. Thus, he is a bore. Our next word is curmudgeon. Curmudgeon is a noun, and it means a cranky person, and usually an old cranky person. Putting curmudgeon into a sentence, we could say, Ernesto was a notorious curmudgeon who snapped at anyone who disturbed him for any reason. So Ernesto was a notorious cranky person who yelled at or criticized anyone who disturbed him. We could also say, rather than give out candy on Halloween, the curmudgeon just shouted at all the passing children. So rather than give out candy on Halloween, the cranky person just yelled at all the kids going by. Our next word is fetid. Fetid is an adjective, and it means foul smelling. So something that smells terrible is fetid. Putting fetid into a sentence, we could say, the fetid stench from the outhouse caused Francesca to wrinkle her nose in disgust. So the horrible smell coming from the outhouse caused Francesca to make a bad face. We could also say, despite tasting delicious, the cheese had an absolutely fetid smell. Our next word is Aerie. Aerie is a noun, and it means a nest built high in the air or an elevated and often secluded dwelling. Putting Aerie into a sentence, we could say, perched high among the trees, the eagle's eyrie was filled with eggs. So perched high up in the trees, the eagle's nest was filled with eggs. We could also say, to avoid attack, the soldiers built an eyrie high in the mountains. So in order to avoid attack, the soldiers built a stronghold or a base high in the mountains. Our next word is guile. Guile is a noun, and it means deceit or trickery. Using guile in a sentence, we can say, since he was not fast enough to catch the roadrunner on foot, the coyote resorted to guile in an effort to trap his enemy. So because the coyote wasn't fast enough to catch the roadrunner on his own, he had to use deceit or trickery in order to catch him. We could also say, in order to steal the documents from his enemy, the spy had to use all the guile he was capable of. So in order to steal the documents, the spy had to use all of the deceit or trickery that he knew. Our next word is florid. Florid is an adjective, and it means excessively decorated or embellished. Using florid in a sentence, we could say, the palace had been decorated in an excessively florid style. Every surface had been carved and gilded. So the palace had been decorated in an excessively or overly decorated fashion. Everything was just a little bit too embellished. We could also say, the Baroque style is a very florid style. So the Baroque style is an excessively decorated or embellished style. With that, we've gone over some more hyper-advanced English vocabulary. I hope many of these words were new and you found this lesson useful. As always, subscribe below, give us a like if you found the video helpful, and let us know in the comments section what else you'd like to learn about or see in our next walk and study lesson. Thanks, guys. Take care.